Hi, welcome to Bass Performance Hall. I'm Charles McCormick, one of the technicians here. During the summer, one of our favorite things to do is to give friends, family, and patrons a backstage tour, taking them behind the scenes to show them places that not many people get to see. Since we can't do that right now, we wanted to give you all a virtual tour to show off some of those places. It's a big building and we've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get started. If you've ever seen a show from the very front row at Bass Hall, you probably don't remember there being conduit over your head during the show. That's because I'm actually sitting on one of our chair wagons. The first 3 rows at Bass Hall can be configured to be either seats, stage, or orchestra pit, depending on the needs of the show. And we will take our orchestra pit lift all the way down to the basement and roll off those first 3 rows of seats to this basement called chair wagon storage, where I'm sitting now. And next, we'll go down to show you the mechanism for how that actually works. All right, here we are down underneath our orchestra pit. You can see through the netting right over here where we just were on the chair wagon storage level. And this is a couple feet under that to where the actual mechanism of the pit lives. Now you'll see what I'm standing right in front of right here. This is our Gala spiral lift, one of them. This is not a hydraulic system. There are not columns that go down into the ground. These columns are actually hollow and they are comprised of 2 pieces. This horizontal thin band and these thicker bands. And what happens is as it lowers, the thin band you can see separates here, basically like a slinky, and the thick band gets coiled up inside this drum. And as it goes out, those 2 systems form to make a very strong, rigid structure. This system can carry about 40,000 pounds on it, and it never comes completely undone. It always has weight on it. Even at its very lowest level, there is still a lot of weight that is kept because the system gets its strength from weight being on it. All right, so now our pit is at our orchestra pit level configuration. At this point, we would normally take these panels off. These are removable. We call them headache panels because I would get myself quite a headache if I walked right through them. We would take these panels off and put them in this cart and then take these railings that you can see behind me and put them out all around our new pit to make it safe for our audience members. All right, so we're here on the 5th floor, and this is where you would go if you were coming to see a show and you had tickets for the lower or upper gallery. But instead of going into the house, we're gonna head down this hallway and show you a backstage area. So now we are out over the stage. We are on our upper operating rail. All of these red handles you see here are actually locks for the rail. And down on deck, we're very fortunate at Bass Hall to have a lower operating rail, which we use most of the time. But during a very busy ballet or a Broadway musical, we can come up here, lock all of our line sets, we'll lock every one, and then we'll go back down on deck, unlock those, and now this becomes our operating rail. And how this system works is it is a counterweight pulley system. So I have my counterweights here, and I'll have a pipe over on the deck, and I can hang scenery, I can hang soft goods, lighting, and what I'll do is if I pull down on this rope, it will take that pipe and whatever's on it and take it in towards the deck. If I pull on the opposite rope, it will take that line set back out. Hi guys, welcome to the spot booth at Bass Hall. I will explain why it's so noisy in just a second, but first I want to explain why this is one of the most favorite stops when we give a tour here at the Hall, and that is because it is customary for road shows to leave a stencil of their road show as they play the Hall. So here we have a history of Bass Hall stencils and the shows that they represent. Most notably, here is the Phantom of the Opera that opened the Hall in July of 1998, and Phantom has been here twice more since. Here their stencil is for their 2016 appearance. And then right over here, when they were most recently here in 2019. I want to talk about our follow spots here. These are Lycian 3Ks, which means they take 3,000 watt lamps. They are quite large, and it takes us, each one has to be operated by a single person. These spotlights have controls for shuttering, dowsing, spotting, as well as color controls. It is customary in roadhouses to name your spots, and here at Bass Hall, these are Larry, Curly, Mo, and Shemp. We have 4. All right, we are up here in our Bombay area. This is, we're over the house. This is where we store our reflectors for the Forestage ceiling, concert ceiling. All right, we are up here in our dome, above our dome, the iconic Bass Hall dome over the seats in the house. We've just climbed up over the feathers section, and now we are sitting out looking through the clouds. We have a cutout up here for a lighting position, which we're very fortunate for because it allows us to get a very high line of sight for lighting right in the center of the stage. You can see out over the top of the dome here where the Oculus hangs in the middle, and this is about the highest point you can get to indoors in Bass Hall. All right, guys, welcome to the grid. This is the highest point we can get above our stage. We are about 90 feet above the deck. We call it the grid because of this lattice of red steel slats that we have to walk on when we work up here. You can see, if we can look down, that this is not a place to work when you are afraid of heights. It is quite a drop. We have to be very, very safety conscious when we're working up here, but we come up here all the time, so we're used to it at this point. First thing you may notice along the ground are all of these black and yellow shivs. These are our pick points for lifting up cable bridges to keep the deck clear. One side of all these ropes is tied off at our pin rail. The other half, when it's not doing anything, it's tied off to a sandbag, and then we can bring that sandbag in, tie it off to some cable, lift it up, and keep the deck nice and clean. The next thing you'll see right behind here on this yellow steel is an axle that controls our stage right light ladders. And a light ladder in this hall are literal ladders, actual ladders that are automated, that run perpendicular to the stage, that we can hang lights on, we can hang scenic elements, we can store things on there. And then just behind that, you'll see a long row of black shivs with steel coming down on the top of the grid. And there's another set about 10 feet over there, moving all the way down to the other side of the grid. These are our lift lines for our battens. There are 6 lift lines per batten, and each one moves together to lift the weight that's on that batten. All right, we are back in the audience chamber. You may notice a single solitary light on deck behind me, and that is our ghost light. It is tradition in many theaters to leave a single source of light out on deck and that burns throughout the night. And practically, this is to illuminate the stage and any open pits so that people don't fall in, but there are a great many superstitions behind this tradition as well. My favorite being that the ghost light allows the ghosts in the theater to perform during the night so that they will not disrupt performances during the day. And as you can see, the main drape is in and the ghost light is out, so it must be time for us to leave. Thank you all for joining us on this virtual tour, and we'll see you next time. Kind of got a little long-winded. I got it. This is a favorite stop among our tours here at Halt. Can we start over, please?